Guys, welcome to episode 7. I hope you're keeping well, and apologies that is a little bit later than intended, but this is due to some real life circumstances, but hopefully that will be a lot less in the future, but there will still probably be an episode or two affected by that soon, but let's hope not. Anyway, we have lots of news today. We're going to have a deep dive into Diablo 4 and its failings. Is it going to remain dead? Probably, but we're going to have a look into it and see the reasons why this could be. Also, there's going to be not one, but two CEOs going bye-bye very, very soon. Well, one already, one very soon. And of course, we're going to be checking out what games are coming this week over on our lovely consoles or even PC. So let's get to it immediately. Or should I say, we're getting to it with immediative effect. That will make more sense very soon, trust me. Ding dong, the Bobby's gone, the Bobby's gone, the Bobby's gone. Ding dong, the Bobby is gone. Yes, more Blizzard news. Gotta love it. Bobby Kotick is out. He was the CEO since 1991 of Activision. That's 32, that's almost how old I am. Now that Microsoft have been successful with their acquisition of Activision Blizzard, after many months of speculation and waiting, he sent an email to staff confirming he will remain CEO until the end of 2023 at Phil Spencer's request, which of course is the boss of Xbox. Both companies will want a smooth transition with the amount of projects ongoing and thousands upon thousands of staff being acquired across Blizzard, across the Activision part, and also Kings as well, which is known for its mobile games. Imagine how much is going to be going on here over the next couple of months. Microsoft have truly done an amazing feat by gathering this entire corporation. Without a doubt, this will set Activision Blizzard, well, now Microsoft Activision Blizzard, in a much better trajectory, because God knows Activision has been going downhill for many years, and maybe with Phil Spencer, with the backing of the Microsoft Power Legion behind them, they will get to a position where people are a lot happier. And also on a side note, who knows what's going to come to Game Pass next year and the years after that. Unity is the gift that keeps on giving, and just like I was mentioning with Bobby Kotick, their CEO now gone from Activision Blizzard, now we have Unity's CEO now gone, fired, blasted, not stepping down like Bobby Kotick, actually fired and gone. And on a side note, I kept saying that John was let go with immediative effect. I'm coining this term, immediative, instead of effective immediately. So I want to use this word, immediative, in future videos where possible. So if you ever hear that word, I'm coining it. Get ready for it, guys. Here we go. John Riccitiello, Unity's CEO, was fired. Unlike last week's news with Jim Ryan retiring and staying until March 2024, John was let go effective immediately. He once joked that players would buy ammo in a game if they were tempted to. He once was the CEO of EA after dragging their name through the ground, yet skyrocketed their profits by nickel and diming gamers in every way he could think of. Hard to imagine how his influence reached Unity with their scandals the past few weeks. Is that really all too much of a coincidence? I think not. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, John. You won't be missed. And next up in the news, there's a new PS5 model. This is a minor refresh, think of it as a mid-gen release. It's a trimmed down size, approximately 30% smaller in size and approximately 20% less lighter as well. It comes in both the original disc drive and the digital version, with reportedly the digital version being a little bit more expensive, and also both versions only come in 1 terabyte of storage. It is also reported that once the stocks of the current PlayStation 5 generation are gone, they will become unavailable, and this will become the default. It is expected to reach the US in November and all other territories at a later date. Diablo 4 released this summer in June 2023 to a bumpy but highly successful launch that managed to get rave reviews, major screen time, and co-promotion on live streams such as Twitch items, huge promotional coverage with major endorsements such as Megan Fox in a live-action trailer for the game, and Halsey's music video Lilith, ad placement in Times Square and around the world, and massive sales, sold over 10 million copies and generated over $1 billion in sales just 2 months after release. The game seemed to deliver on what it was suggesting during the early promo spots and various interviews with people working on the game. It brought us back to the darker feeling of Diablo and Diablo 2. It kept all the microtransactions to cosmetic-only items, no pay to win, and seemed to be taking comments and suggestions for improvement from the alpha and beta testers seriously to improve the game. It looked like it was a serious runner and top contender for the game of the year, and maybe even on its way to being a new fan favorite from Blizzard after years of poorly performing releases. But that would all soon come to end by the end of July and coming into mid-August, where player retention and stream airtime for Diablo 4 dramatically dropped off, and player opinion towards the game made a hard 180 degrees from praised to condemned. So let's have a look and ask, what has happened to Diablo 4? As of the end of September, there are a lot of suggested reasons for this. Some more realistic than others. The least likely, but also highly suggested reason for the drop-off is a result of the backlash Blizzard has had regarding the sexual harassment, but since this game sold so well and performed so well initially, this is hardly the real reason, albeit a small reason, and I say this due to the timing. Other unlikely reasons that have been suggested by the public is the result of Baldur's Gate 3, which released in early August, which captured the internet by a storm and is definitely a Game of the Year contender. Another reason is that many players may have been upset to discover that in each season, players will have to start a fresh character in each season to participate in new content, as there will be very few, if any, updates to the main content. Complaints about the format for Diablo 4 seasons are also widely dismissed, even by the fanboys, as this is historically a Diablo season player standard format, and even first-time players claim they were aware of this before buying Diablo 4. However, there are likely complaints from people that didn't know enough about the Diablo series prior into getting into Diablo 4. However, these seasons are introduced a lot faster than other games. Diablo 2 seasons or ladders used to be over a year in length. The newest resurrected version is approximately 4 months or longer. Diablo 3 at a minimum was 3 months, with some seasons a little bit longer than that, and now Diablo 4 seems to be a maximum of 3 months. At least it's not as short as Overwatch 2 seasons of 9 weeks. This constant refresh style won't suit most casual players, but those who enjoy the refresh will be entertained. After all, as of the time of this writing, Diablo 3 has reached its 29th season. Diablo 4 still needs to find its stride. More reasonable suggestions for the player drop-off include poor management and a good enough development attitude from marketing and higher-ups in production. Alleged reports of weak management from people current and former, telling stories like Rod Ferguson, which is Diablo's executive producer, hosting weekly mandatory Zoom meetings with team members. These meetings have been dubbed Rodcasts, just talking about his favorite shows and movies. In a release document, Activision Blizzard allegedly told development teams to focus on releasing the game in a good enough state to make the June 2023 release, as they were unwilling to postpone the game yet again. Former and current employees have stated they were working extremely long hours in a toxic environment for relatively low pay and tragically hilarious special benefits and incentives offered to employees for overtime, such as a DoorDash gift card of $25 for those who work 10 hours or more in a single shift. These conditions resulted in developers and key long-time Blizzard employees leaving the company, and remaining employees feeling forced to make disturbing cuts to gameplay and narrative, especially when it came closer to release with crunch time. In addition to the obvious internal issues, it was clear even from the beta that the end game was going to be a worry, especially since there was very little endgame testing done, and most of it was done by an internal team rather than the vast majority of testers. They could have easily allowed additional time for this to happen, but they did not. They just pretty much ran with what little they had. The game just does not have enough content, especially in the end game, because it gets boring really quickly, because you're just grinding the same dungeon again and again in the nightmare format, just simply adding on 1, 2, 3, 4 alders up to 100. Yes, the challenge is there, yes, but that does not mean that it is fun. The nightmare system is more frustrating than fun or even challenging, so I would not consider that amazing endgame content. Combined with the Hell Tides, a few world bosses, Legion events, and the Whispers, it's just repeating the same things again and again, more or less. And that, after a week or two of doing it, is going to be enough for most players just to drop out. There needs to be a lot more change. The good news is in Season 2, they are adding more endgame bosses to try and give more players something to do, but whether that will be enough or not. Also, on top of that, there are some fixes in the works. Normally it is coming with seasons. That's where the biggest patches are going to be, outside of small bug fixes and things like that. The problem with that is that you could go for possibly up to 3 months, because that's more or less how long a season is. You can go for that amount of time without any major balancing changes or any reworks to the system, etc. And that can feel very old very quickly, especially if it is not the changes that the players wanted. And right before Season 1 was dropped onto the servers, Blizzard done the most negligent thing they could do to their game, which is they released a patch that absolutely nerfed every single thing to the ground. They made experience a lot slower, they increased the difficulty of monsters without really rewarding players, they nerfed lots of classes to the ground, and only after the amazing outrage from the player base that they realized, oops, we might have done something a bit too drastic. And that's when they went into kind of trying to patch everything up by releasing lots of updates to players to give their reasoning behind it, and also roll back a lot of the changes that they have made. But by then, the vitriol that the community faced, even if everything was reverted, the damage was still done because the developers proved how incompetent they were. They only proved that the game was not ready to be shipped in the first place. So these are pretty much my final thoughts, that due to Season 1 coming out and being subpar, it was a very boring season, very safe, very little time put into it, and even just made the stash issues, the player inventories issues that players kept complaining about, it just highlighted that even more. And with the changes to everything, nerfing everything into the ground, it made Season 1 very sour. So much so that during September, the numbers on Twitch, the viewers alone, were in a couple of thousand maximum at any one point. Diablo 4 had been completely decimated. The good news is that Season 2 is on its way very soon, on the 17th of October, with the Season of Blood, which is going to bring a lot of promising changes, which may affect the player base. It may bump up people, it may bring people back, so those numbers will just bump up, including viewership possibly, at least for the opening weeks, I'm sure. But whether these changes will be enough or not to stem the tide of players leaving is hard to say. There have been a couple of games over the last couple of months in particular that are far superior to Diablo 4, that don't try and nickel and dime you like the Diablo 4 devs are, and giving you a subpar experience. There's been some amazing games and more amazing games coming out which will compete for Season 2 as well. There are many changes coming, such as balance changes, lots of more unique changes coming in. The resistance change is finally here, to lots of quality of life life changes, more endgame content, and quality of life changes to all of the endgame content as well. So things are going in the right direction for Diablo 4, there's no doubt about that. However, the damage has already been done, and whether they can stop the hemorrhage of players and just get a couple of back, it's really hard to say at this point. It could still take a number of seasons before everything is a lot more playable, and that's the fear. You had possibly 10+ million people in June, and now you have dwindling numbers. Even to the viewership on Twitch, no one is streaming the game. Once again, in Season 2, people will, without a doubt, jump back in, check it out. But whether that will be a prolonged experience or not is anybody's guesses. So for all the internal drama that has been occurring in the internal side of Blizzard, anywhere from harassment and sexual harassment cases to the discourse involving the development itself, to the release in a good enough state of Diablo 4, the logistics behind it, there's just so many things that were going wrong with this game, and it was evident even from the beta that things were just not polished enough for the type of game that Blizzard envisioned originally. So if you are someone who just does not care about seasons, at least lots of these changes will affect you, because there's lots of class balancing changes along with all these other quality of life improvements, things that should have been there long ago. And that's why I honestly think, as my final thought, that this game is very much still in beta, and we as the players are still very much beta testers. Developed by THQ Nordic, the next SpongeBob game brings our well-known duo of SpongeBob and Patrick together as they travel through portals into wish worlds full of knights, cowboys, pirates and prehistoric snails. Can this comic duo save Bikini Bottom from the very fabric holding the universe together? SpongeBob The Cosmic Shake transports its way to Xbox and PS5 October 16th. Sega is back with Sonic Team, bringing Sonic back to a new platform game featuring side-scrolling gameplay similar to early Sonic games. Join Sonic and friends Tails, Knuckles and Amy Rose, and play as any of them as they set out to defeat Dr. Eggman and the Fang Hunter. Sonic speeds his way to all consoles and PC October 17th. Skull Island is brought to you by Iguana Beast Studios, based on the rich history of Skull Island. This is a third-person action adventure that lets you become Kong on his mission for vengeance as you fight to claim your rightful place as king. Skull Island: Rise of Kong chest punches its way to all consoles and PC October 17th. Endless Dungeon by Amplitude Studios is a roguelike tactician game set in the award-winning Endless universe. Recruit a team of shipwrecked heroes, plunge into a long-abandoned space station, and protect your crystal against never-ending waves of monsters. Or die trying, get reloaded, and try again. Endless Dungeon endlessly delivers itself onto PC October 19th. Hot Wheels returns with developer Milestone. Hot Wheels is a racing game where players control vehicles from the Hot Wheels franchise through everyday locations, miniature style. Players can create their own tracks and now gain access to some new abilities such as double jump to reach secret areas. Hot Wheels laterally drifts its way to all consoles October 19th. Step aboard the legendary Orient Express with developer Microid Studio Leon. Immerse yourself as a detective in a race against the clock to unmask the murderer. Embody two detectives and dive into the mind maps and timelines to uncover the truth. Murder on the Orient Express detects itself on all consoles and PC October 19th. Insomniac Games are back with the third entry to the Marvel's Spider-Man series, after the original and Miles Morales. In this next outing, both Peter Parker and Miles team up while combating a whole new assortment of villains from Lizard, Kraven, and Venom. Building upon the foundations of its predecessors, this game will surely be one to remember. Spider-Man 2 web slings its way onto PlayStation 5 October 20th. Nintendo presents its mascot in his latest outing with Super Mario Bros. Wonder, a new take on the platformer with a large cast of playable characters from Princess Peach to Yoshi. Players travel the Flower Kingdom offering their assistance while taking out Bowser's minions and collecting Wonder Seeds in this psychedelic trip and new power-ups. Super Mario Bros. Wonder powers up the Switch October 20th. And that's the show for tonight, guys. I hope you loved it. And remember, immediative. That is our new word that we are coining for today. So 2 CEOs on the way out and also a deep dive into Diablo 4. And there we go. I hope you enjoyed the presentation today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And remember, if you did like it, please make sure you press that like button. It helps us on the algorithm so much, especially with the recent changes that we have been doing on the channel. And of course, don't forget to press subscribe if you do want to see more of this type of content in the future. And if you want to check out our lovely Patreon and help support and also get your name featured at the end of these videos, go and check out that Patreon. But other than that, guys, thank you very much for your viewership, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care. Goodbye. Sláinte.